Well, if I go back a little bit in history, back in the mid-1980s, at that time we had a much lower volume, of course. Global markets were smaller than they are today, and we were very North American focused, really an American company. And at that time we realized we needed to make major investments in meeting emission standards beginning in the 1980s. And at that particular time, to do that and to make a major investment, you want more volume. So, you're looking for economies of scale. Our chairman at the time said what he wanted to do is expand product lines, market segments, and geographic segments. So China became very important because it was looked at as really an opportunity to grow global volume. So that really began in the 1980s. And has continued to the current day, where today actually our volume in China, engine volume, exceeds that of North America. Right now it's really a very key part of our global strategy. It's almost considered a home market. As I said, our volume in China exceeds that of North America. We have smaller engines in China. The market requirement is for larger engines in the US, but China's quickly catching up on that as well. Right now, the engines that we're designing, any new engines, are actually designed first for China, and then they're adapted for North America or other parts of the world. And typically, the reason for that is that we've had the very quick pace of emissions standards changes in China, so that we've needed to apply our most advanced global technology to meet those standards in China, but applying our most advanced technology and then taking those new engines and then adapting them for requirements in North America. We found originally designing for North America first and then adapting for China made the engines over-designed, too heavy, too durable. Not that China doesn't have a durability requirement, but just over-designed, if I will say. So really designing for China, India, Russia first, and then adapting for the US has been a great strategy for us. You see a very quick evolution of consumer demands in China. And the two specific areas where there's higher demands and Cummins is responding, one is in the area of emissions or environmental requirements, and the second is for service, customer support. In the area of environmental requirements, obviously everybody cares about clean air, and it's something the government's focused on, people care deeply about. They want their children to be breathing clean air, and we're a key part of that. We're working very closely with both our engine, using our components and our systems technology to improve our engines, as well as support the development of engines manufactured by other people, competitors. That's one. The second area is in customer support. Back, I'd have to say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the requirement for quick customer support was really not present in China. But now I'd have to say the requirement for customer support is even quicker, more demanding than it is in many other parts of the world. In our particular in industrial area, I would say areas such as IP protection, intellectual property protection, has been evolving positively, still has a ways to go. But we've received some very good and very positive support from local government entities and from the legal channel in protecting our IP, just as an example. I think in terms of investment law, those have been gradually being liberalized. When I negotiated our first joint venture in China in 1994, 5, and 6, the laws were not really clear. I think those have been gradually put into place to make it much more of a hospitable and welcoming business environment. China Standard 6, as well as the comparable off-highway and stationary and marine-related standards that come over the next few years, will have a major impact on the environment in China, and we're thrilled to support. Cummins has been a global leader in meeting emission standards in the United States, in Europe, and now in countries such as China. We've been actively involved with the Ministry of Environmental Protection and other ministries to put standards in place. Our role really has been to be a good advisor and try to help facilitate relations with other countries such as the U.S. that have put standards in place so that the Chinese government entities can learn from perhaps some of the mistakes made elsewhere in the world. And I think there's some really good standards in place, and we're looking forward to implementation of China 6. Within Cummins, we call it Global 6 because there's a comparable development both in India and in Russia, and we're designing products that can meet multiple countries' requirements. We have India is actually by volume our third largest market in the world. China's second. Russia's in the 5 to 6 range. So those are all very important markets for us, and you put them together and you get some economies of scale in terms of your investment in developing new products. One of the most exciting things for me personally in developing the Cummins China business is that when China's National Standard 3 was put in place in 2009 and 10, and then 4 and 5, we generally had non-Chinese chief engineers or technical product leaders. But I'm really happy to report in our 12 new engine platforms being designed for Global 6 or China 6, we actually have 10 of 12 are led by Chinese technical product leaders based in China. And then the other one's by an Indian and the other's by a Korean, and they're also both based in China. So we really have a program focused on meeting standards that's based in China for China. In addition to that, we also provide what we call air handling, which are turbochargers. We provide fuel systems, diesel fuel injection. We provide filtration products. We provide after treatment, which is catalytic converters, if you will. And those are products that we put not only on our own engines, but also on our competitors' engines. So we're actively involved in helping the entire industry meet the emission standards, and we're very pleased that we can do that. For many, many years, of course, American companies have exported around the world, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so successfully, but it's been a key focus both from Europe and North America. But what we see now is a concerted effort, an encouragement by the Chinese government to encourage Chinese companies to export. Now, in general, we operate in partnerships, 50-50 partnerships with Chinese companies, typically equipment manufacturers such as construction equipment, trucks, etc. And our effort with them is to support the ability of Chinese OEMs, or original equipment manufacturers, to export globally. So for example, I've made a number of trips to Russia and to Africa and Southeast Asia to look at the opportunities for, as well of course as many of my staff, look at opportunities for export of Chinese equipment with Cummins power. We of course recognize that China's looking to have their OEMs export and other companies, but we think we can help doing that because we have service networks throughout the world. So if you put a Cummins engine in a truck, you ship it to Africa, or if you take a Cummins engine and build it in a truck at an assembly site in Africa, which is being done in a couple locations, we're happy to provide service support in that area. So we think it's a great opportunity. Well, our current sales in China our revenue is in the range of $5 billion US. So it's, and then in addition to that, there is a significant amount of engine export or power generation export from China to elsewhere in the world, such as we sell 20 to 30,000 engines a year from our Chinese factories to Russia. So, and that puts us kind of, obviously not up to $6 billion yet, but kind of in that range. I would I'd say 10 years from now, we would like to be growing at a rate such that we'd be in the range of 8 to 10 billion in sales. But I think more importantly is the continued respect in the market in China and the development of our customer support. We've done very well in, as I said earlier, in developing engines technically. Our technical center in Wuhan is outstanding. We've got some good engineers in Beijing. We've got operations in Wuxi. Those are all together designing and developing new product for the market. And then our focus is on really providing great market-leading customer support as well. So it's just an exciting future. It's been an exciting history, exciting past, but also a very exciting future. CGC's main focus is really to demonstrate that and support Chinese companies and demonstrate that Chinese companies can be successful in the United States, can grow their business, and can be good corporate citizens. And just really help be that bridge between two countries, two economies, and two cultures. You know, I'll be serving as in one of their strategic advisory capacities. And so I look forward to really supporting them in developing a vision. And, you know, they've really said, you know, given some of the tensions between the U.S. and China today, what is the role of somebody like CGCC? How can we create a better environment for Chinese companies and Chinese companies in North America as well as U.S. companies in China? And I think there are a number of organizations that do that or try to contribute to it, and I think CGC has got a really key role. So I would see them as really focusing on trying to help Chinese companies understand how they can be better successful in China, maybe share some best practices, both with American business people as well as other Chinese companies that have been successful. CGCC can be a good bridge between companies to kind of share information about the environment and about what kind of strategies people can put in place to be better successful, more successful in the American market.